Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Aiara.
and welcome to the 100th episode of the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, free Palestine. Um, Today we have two special guests joining us to celebrate the 100th episode. Both of which have been on the podcast before. Welcome, Eric Hunter and Bri. Um,
Hello.
Hello.
I wanted to have you two on the podcast because this episode marks the beginning of a brand redesign done with the help of Bri, but also I wanted to look back on the previous look where we used art from Eric. But before we do that, we're going to get into what media we've been interacting with lately. As usual, Aiara, you can start, and then I'll go, and then you guys can go after that.
Hey, so I've been really doing much because there hasn't been much that's come out, to be honest. I've been playing a lot of Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door again. I took a break for a little while, but now I'm back to it. What else? Something just came out recently, I feel like, and I'm forgetting it. And I was really excited for it, and now I can't remember what it was. Ugh. But besides that, I've been playing a lot of Scribblenauts and Super Scribblenauts just because I felt a lot of nostalgia for it, so I was playing those. I started watching this TV series called Renegade from the 90s, and it is terrible. I love it so much. It's so bad. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. So for me, um, so I finally finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but we're gonna get to that towards the end. Um, Playing Hades 2, a lot of fun. We'll talk about that around the same time as Final Fantasy. House of Dragon episode 1 came out last Sunday. This Sunday is episode 2. That episode was wild. There's nothing else I can say. I was gonna talk about it a little bit in the TV and film section, but I don't want to spoil nothing. And it was just wild. And apparently, what happened in that at the end of that episode was much worse in the book. So I don't know how it could get worse than that. But
Mm.
well, I finished my rewatch of Batman the Animated Series a while ago, but um, I started rewatching it because, well, no, I think I started rewatching it before this, but there's a reaction YouTube channel I watch called Blind Wave, and I subscribe to their Patreon and do full length. So I watched the episode along with them, and I've been doing that with Batman the Animated Series. So I finished watching it myself, but I'm still watching them watch it, and I'm hoping that after Batman the Animated Series, they do another one of the DC animated universe shows like Superman or Batman Beyond, so I can get back to watching those because I've also been in the middle of watching those, but I haven't watched any episodes lately. The last episode of Delicious in Dungeon aired. Either of you guys watching Delicious in Dungeon? Bri or Eric?
Yes, I
Yeah,
just
I
started
do.
watching it.
Cool. Um, are you caught up, Aya?
Oh yeah, I am. I think that's what I was forgetting about.
Yeah.
Started the manga too.
Yeah. It's just a good show. There's been a lot of like these like wholesome anime that have like slice of life elements mixed in with other genres that have been coming out lately. Like I feel like Frieren is definitely a lot more similar to this in the sense that it's very Dungeon and Dragons and RPG video game inspired. Um, and then you have like was it Sakamoto Days, which is getting an anime soon, and Spy Family, which is like a slice of life but mixed with spy and assassin drama, which is very interesting. But they're at the same time, they're despite those facts, they're very wholesome and like comfy shows. It's very interesting. Uh,
Mhm.
Currently watching Kaiju number 8 and Demon Slayer. I started watching
Oh,
the latest episode of Demon Slayer earlier, but I was hungry and stopped and ordered food. um, and yeah, so I've been reading the Kaiju number 8 manga since it started. So when I heard it was getting an anime, I was so excited, and the anime's been real good so far. I need to actually, I don't even think the episode's out yet. It comes out later tonight. But yeah, I'm caught up so far. And I'm just an episode behind on Demon Slayer because one came out today. I am caught up on, you know what? Save that for the end of the animation and let one of you guys go. Just tell us, what shows, movies, books, video games you've been playing lately. Um, which one of you guys would like to
um,
start? Bree? Okay.
well, I can go. So I started replaying Bioshock Infinite,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I bought the trilogy pack, so I have like the first one and then like the second one, and I have no clue how those stories
Yeah,
will go, so I plan on playing it later.
I have
Uh,
I have those in my backlog. I bought them months ago because they were like supremely discounted, but I haven't got around to it yet.
yeah,
Yeah, same.
I bought them when they were like really discounted. I was like, shoot, I'll get it. But uh,
That's how to get you.
I've watched the all of the new X-Men that's out, and honestly, like although it's all over the place, I'm aching for more. Like there's so much drama happening, and I'm like, man, all I gotta say is Wolverine. He's in the back of my mind all the time.
Real,
But
In what way?
the, I, I just be feeling for that man. I be feeling so bad.
He do be going through it,
You
but
got
he put himself in that situation.
all of it.
Truly.
Listen, in this new series, not really. You just gotta watch it. Let
But
me
yeah,
know when you watch it. We'll talk about it.
yeah, I'm on the
But
last season of the original series, season 10. Season 10. I mean, it's 10 episodes in season 5. And I'm
I
on
have to
like
rewatch that.
episode 3 or 4. So, yeah, I'll be finished with it soon and I'll be picking up 97. But yeah, was that it or was there some more?
Oh, it's so good. But I've been watching some of that. I watched the new Kingen and Baki episode or whatever. Ah, well, not episode. It was like a movie. It was very lackluster. That's all I'm gonna say. As for manga, I've been like reading some not so popular mangas. Like there's one called The Suffocatingly Lonely Death or whatever. It's like a murder mystery almost. Psychological horror thing. Not horror, but yeah. And then
Like a thriller?
I think that's about yeah, it's like a thriller almost. But it's pretty good. I recommend it. As for slice of life, I haven't been reading any. There's one I keep rereading called Bongchung Bride.
Hmm?
It's on Mangato, I think it's called. It's pretty good. It's like a uh I don't know how to describe it, but it's like in feudal Korea, and it's male love male. Very nice, very sweet. It's like drama that keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Ooh.
So it's mixed with like sweet stuff, but also like some very intense trauma in it.
Ah,
So be
sounds like
wary
sounds
if you
like
ever decide to read it.
classic Korean storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like this, I don't know. I reread it like 5 or 6 times already, and I'm rereading it again. It's just too good.
Oh,
It's too good.
I forgot to mention that I started replaying Dishonored Death of the Outsider expansion. Look, I love Dishonored. I couldn't tell you how many times I played these games. Um,
I never finished it.
one of my favorite video game franchises of all time, and I just I was gonna say I suddenly got the urge, but that's not true. I saw this dude named Stealth Gamer BR who does like a lot of cool stuff in stealth games. And he posted a video talking about, yeah, it's been 8 years, and I was like, what? It's the anniversary? And I was like, no, it's not, because I remember when Dishonored 2 came out, because it came out 3 days before my birthday, and then I got it on my birthday.
Mhm.
So later this year will be the 8th anniversary of the second game. Um, yeah, Death of the Outsider. I mean, Dishonored 2 is just so good. It's such an underrated game franchise. Critically acclaimed. Critics love it, but it unfortunately does not sell well. Um,
Mhm.
it's the reason why I'm sure you guys have heard of the game Deathloop because it was everywhere because they were constantly advertising it.
Yeah.
The reason that game got advertised to the point to where people started to hate on it and kind of like make fun of it is because the last two games they made, Dishonored and Dishonored 2 and Prey, so the last three games they made just didn't sell well. So they were making sure that people saw this game and people bought this game and people played that game, Deathloop. And guess what? It worked. Deathloop is the highest grossing game that they've made so far. So
Really, I
it,
haven't seen anything else about it aside from
I mean,
advertising.
Yeah.
here's the thing: even though it did the best of all of their games, it still like isn't like up there with like some of the biggest games out there. It
Mm.
still is relatively low in comparison to other games, but it did good in the grand scheme. Like they made their money back, and like similar to the Dishonored and Prey games, it was critically acclaimed. People who actually played it liked it. It's just their games just aren't as popular as I think they should be. They make Arcane, which unfortunately half of their studio got axed by Xbox recently.
Mm.
But they make some incredible games, and hopefully they'll get a chance to make Dishonored 3 after they're finished with that Blade game.
Oh yeah, no that This is what I'm excited for. Seems interesting.
I'm low key upset it's not first person, but I'm sure they'll make a great game because I just trust them. They make good games.
Hmm.
It'll be third person, which makes sense because it's a superhero game. You want to give them costumes and stuff, but yeah, go ahead, Eric. I'm talking too much.
Well, I don't. I gotta say I'm not really caught up on much stuff as of late. What with me having to draw for my manga and everything, but I do have uh I do have some games trying to I'm trying to finish at the moment, like Dragon Quest Monsters, Dragon Quest 10 offline, and the Sandland game, of course, because that recently came out. I was like super invested into that one, and when I got into it, it was it, like I realized right away there was so much in that game that you can do that getting to the story is not a big requirement right away before you can do anything you want. So there was a point where there was just a point where I was just playing roaming around the game without really realizing that I hadn't made much progress. But in terms of anime, uh, the only ones I've made a full commitment to so far was Delicious in Dungeon and Black Clover. Since I had gotten pretty caught up in Black Clover's manga, that I just thought now would be a good time to start watching the anime and see what it looked like. But that's it. That's about it on my end, really.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have a good discussion towards the end about that Nintendo Direct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, since you brought it up, uh, let's get into what you guys do in art and the type of the things that you guys have done for this podcast and the art that you guys do outside of it. Eric, you just mentioned your manga. You want to tell us about that?
Oh well, so I guess uh, if I were to put my manga in a summary, like uh, it's like a group of three people taking on a job that uh, mainly requires helping the public or stopping bad guys of such. Um, the inspiration from that came from when I realized that in most anime there's always a trio, so part of me just started to lean towards that notion. But as I was making the story, it just kind of evolved into something a little bigger. Even though I'm only 20 volumes in so far, 21, I think I have
Only that's
something.
actually really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my schedule, yeah, that is considered good. Since I do one chapter every 2 weeks, so
Yeah, 21
yeah, with
chapters. So yeah, I've been keeping up with it. It's real good so far. You know, I've always ever since I met you in like anime club back in yeah, high school I think. And I just saw your art and I was like, man, how is this guy so good? And seeing
No, for real.
that you've gotten even better than that over the like almost decade that I've known you is just incredible. Just seeing how much you've grown. Actually, I think it has been about a decade since I've known you. But yeah, yeah. Then the story itself takes place in DC, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
Really?
that's the current setting at the moment. Since I thought DC was kind of it plays a big part into this world that I haven't really touched on just yet, but hopefully eventually I'm on the final stage of my first arc, so eventually I'll get to the point where I can explain that. But ideally the whole setting would basically be like entire planet itself. Like just plan on studying and researching on a bunch of countries and other places so I can use those as settings for the next story. So
Yeah, and a lot of the characters are based around people that you know. Like Harris, our design teacher, is one of the like main characters. Is essentially like
yes,
the mentor figure.
yeah, the mentor figure slash captain.
That's pretty cool. Maybe I need to get into this.
Yeah, you posted on your IG stories, and they're saved on your page as well, and like the story highlights.
They're all available to read on my highlights. I will be honest with like the first few chapters they do have a bunch of typos and lack clarity in some areas, but eventually I'm gonna actually plan on redoing a few of those. Uh,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Probably what I'm doing first start.
Yeah, a suggestion I made at one point that you started implementing was having the an arrow showing people which direction to read, because you post it in your story, but it's read like a traditional, Japanese manga. Sometimes you can end up
Right.
reading it in the wrong direction. So now on every page you have an arrow going like read this way, because I would always end up reading the wrong direction, and then I would like, what? I'm confused. What are they saying? And then I'm like, oh, I'm reading it wrong.
Right. Honestly, when you told me about that, that thought hadn't crossed my mind until I realized, yeah, you do have to click right in order to get to the next page, and I'm like, that does that can probably confuse a lot of people. So it is better to start doing that from now on.
But yeah, what's your Instagram?
Oh, it's 3trios_official.
Yeah, I'll make sure I put that in the caption or the description.
It'll say that it'll be on Instagram for a while, but eventually I'll start spreading out to other social media
Yeah,
platforms.
yeah, yeah. I think at one point, like, you had like drew me as like a character, and then that's when I first started getting you to like draw things for me before I started taking like one of the drawings you made and used it for the podcast, and then from there, I started asking you to draw. I'm commissioning some drawings for you for like the anniversary drawings and other special events that we had going on, um, that are all up on my IG or the Mustardcast's IG. At the
I
Mustardcast,
need to follow.
and yeah, and up until before Amir, just got real busy with life and couldn't record anymore. It would the two drawings were from you of Amir and me. Um, I don't know when you drew that picture of Amir, because I think he just randomly had it. Now, no, it was his profile picture on Instagram at one point. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that he drew you at one point. Amir is weird. I didn't realize Amir was as popular as he is. I've known him for so long. I did not realize he was so popular. So many people know him. So many more people know him than I thought. This man be popping up in places
Mm.
I don't expect him to be at. Like when we had that alumni event a while back, I was like, oh,
Hmm.
I didn't even know he knew all these people. I don't know Amir like I thought I did.
I
He's one,
didn't see him.
yeah, he was just surrounded by people. That man's popular.
Oh.
Um, but yeah, Bree. So for the podcast, you've drawn new portraits for me in Aiara. With this
Hmm.
redesign, we're taking a lot of inspiration from initially. It was Hades and Persona 5, but when I started playing Persona 3 Reload, I started taking a lot more inspiration from that, because I like how
Hmm.
that's a little bit simpler in terms of the way they do the UI. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm leaning into the mustard aspect of the mustard cast and Dijon mustard, of which, I mean, I'm sure I said this the first time you were on a podcast in that Arcane review episode, but like you're the person who gave me my nickname. You just one
Yeah.
day in science class had purposely mispronounced my name, and one of our friends was like the mustard, and you were like, yeah, like the mustard, and I was like, I like that. And here we are with the mustard cast. Um,
Oh, so I think was it your either your middle name or last name started with an M. So I was like, yeah, so that's like the mustard part.
Yeah, yeah, I
Dijon
remember.
mustard.
Yeah, we were talking about initials for some reason. But yeah, so yeah, so like, what is your journey with art been like, and like, what do you plan on doing with it outside of, what's been done with the podcast?
Oh, so for 1 year, stuff is actually almost done. I just the flat colors, and I just need to draw the one more pose that
Mm,
you requested.
yeah,
So I'll probably show that to you within like the week or so. Maybe we'll see.
yeah.
But
The idea is to have like multiple different like expressions that I can use in like thumbnails and stuff like that.
Mhm. but as of right now, I've just been like in the planning station, planning parts of new comics that I want to make, or just in general. So I have, I think, four or five stories that I want to do. One is like kind of fleshed out where it just needs like a script and like character design. And there's others that have like really intense world building and character building and like story arcs that is kind of hard to write. And I like low key think I need a team to do that. But in the meantime, I've just been doing like a lot of studying, doing YouTube videos and at least trying to learn animation. I haven't started doing animation yet, but I've been saving videos on YouTube.
Yeah, I have to make sure I show. One, I have to show Eric like, Or I don't know, maybe Eric will just have to wait for the episode to come out to see all the redesigns. But also I tweaked the animation for the opening and the outro. I didn't completely redo it because that would have just took too long. Or was it Juneteenth? Didn't have to work because of the holiday. So I had started like the weekend before, but that day I sat down and locked in and finished that up. And I essentially, look, the first time I did it, I was beyond amateurish, and I was just since like after a little bit after that actually, I ended up taking an animation course for this apprenticeship program I was doing with the place that I work at right now before I joined the team full time. So I ended up just learning a lot more about animation. So redoing the animation right now, I took all those skills and it was just so much easier because I actually knew what I was doing. When I was doing it the first time, I didn't realize there was literally an animation. There was just an easier way to animate. What is it? Procreate. I was just literally just making the drawings, like switching between layers, and then exported all of them into Photoshop. When there's literally an animation tool in the app itself that I could have been using the whole time and using onion skins to see the previous layers and stuff that I just wasn't aware of until I took that class and needed to use Procreate to animate for that class. And I was just like, oh, I made that so much harder than it needed to be. So yeah, redoing the animation was so much easier. And I did it all in Photoshop because before I did it partially in Photoshop and in After Effects. And then sometimes After Effects can be a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. And it was a lot easier for me to just do it all in Photoshop and, just adjust things that needs to be. And now the animation looks better than ever. The colors are off. So one of these days I might have to change the colors because I changed the colors slightly for the brand with the yellow and the orange, and also threw in the super dark, almost black brown and like this cream colored white to fill in any black or white colors I need. And yeah, because the colors are different, it's noticeable when the animation plays and then it goes into the overlay. You can see the difference between the oranges and the yellows. So I need to fix that at some point, but right now it's not that deep. It's on the screen for like 10 seconds or like 5 seconds or something. But yeah, animation is hard. It's not easy. It takes time.
I'm scared to start. That's why I really haven't started like practicing. I'm trying to get my art style in order first before I do anything like that because I feel so I need to have like one that's pretty consistent before I do anything else. I think it'll make it a lot easier. But right now, I've just been like flip-flopping between different art styles. I mean, I like my art a lot more than I used to because it kind of used to look janky and all over the place, but now I figured out some kind of cohesion with it. And
Yeah,
if I'm not drawing, then I'm writing fan fiction.
that's good. I need to start
Oh
writing
my
fan
gosh.
fiction because unfortunately, I just don't write. I am an idea man. I have so many ideas. I have
Same.
so many notes, and I write them down all the time. And one day I decided, you know what? I should probably start writing fan fiction because a lot of my ideas start off as fan fiction and then I turn it into something original. But I should probably actually
Right.
take the fan fiction version of that and like write it, expand on it, and that way I get the experience of writing and learn as a writer and grow as a writer. And then when I decide to make it something original, I have something solid to work from. But yeah, so many of my ideas start off as fan fiction, and I realize I'll probably never be in a position to make this official thing, but I could make it something else that's my own. That's how a lot of my
Basically,
ideas
that's
go.
exactly what I do.
Yeah, same. It's a huge catharsis too, where it's like all this stuff that I wanted to happen in canon, I can just make it my own canon. Now it's real.
Yep.
Yeah, so many things. I'm like, that should be different and better. I could do it better.
Mhm.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, what's your Instagram? If you have an art Instagram you want to share.
I no longer post art, or at least I'm trying to get back into doing that. I haven't found like a platform that I really want to post on. So I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes until I find a platform that I want to post on. So I started making a new mascot for my page. So it's no longer going to be Jackal. It's a different one, and I'm trying to get into like a studio. So right now, of course, it's ran by like one person. And I think one other person knows like some of my story ideas. A few of my friends know, but only like one person knows in depth what I want to do. But right now, it's gonna stay anonymous until like I get everything settled.
Okay. Um, is there anything you can say about the new mascot you're making?
Uh, it's a monkey.
Okay.
That's about it. It's a ghost monkey.
Ooh.
Cool. Dang.
I could show later, actually.
I had
Just you guys.
something I was about to say, but I completely forgot. But I guess just moving on to the animation segment. Go-Go Mystery Machine. So there's going to be a new Scooby-Doo spin-off series by Warner Bros. Animation that follows Shaggy and Scooby-Doo as they go to Japan and unwittingly unleash hundreds of mischievous mythical monsters that are now causing trouble all over the country. And a lot of people are comparing it to Cardcaptor Sakura because that's just the story of that, where the titular character releases a bunch of monsters and then has to go and capture them. And maybe they'll have like some type of magical abilities that'll help them capture them. So it might be similar, more similar to. I mean, that's the what was it? The genre, that genre. I don't even know. I guess it's Magical Girl. That's exactly what Cardcaptor Sakura is.
Right.
So it's gonna be Magical Girl Scooby Doo, which is funny.
If we don't get
It
at
might
least
be
one
a reference to
transformation,
it.
Yeah, I actually read the entirety of like the original Cardcaptor Sakura. I know there's like a continuation or something. I never read that, but I read the entirety of like the original. If I'm not mistaken, it's by Clamp, right? Because I know Cardcaptor Sakura ties into like Triple X Holic and Tsubasa, which I used to also read those.
Really?
I don't think I ever. No, I think I did finish Triple X Holic. I never watched the anime though. I need to sit down and watch the Triple X Holic anime at some point. But I used to read. I read and reread Triple X Holic only God knows how many times when I was a kid because I didn't have internet because my family couldn't afford it. So I was always in the library, either on the computer or reading books and taking books home to entertain myself at home when I wasn't playing games or watching TV. So yeah, I read a decent amount of Clamp stuff and watched a few of their anime. So two very popular, arguably two of the most popular, not arguably, straight up two of the most popular Cartoon Network shows are coming back, kinda. One of them's straight coming back. One of them is a spinoff. So we're getting a new regular show, by the creator, the creator and voice of Mordecai, GQ Quintel, or JQ Quintel. GQ is a men's fashion brand. And yeah, JQ will be hitting up the project, and unfortunately, this is just a result of Close Enough getting axed by Warner Brothers. Close Enough was so good. Do you guys know what Close Enough is? It was a cartoon made by JQ Quintel that released on HBO Max. That was essentially like it was on Adult Swim. And it was essentially adult regular show. Regular show always had a lot of adult shows, but at the end of the day, it was on Cartoon Network, so they can only do so much. Close Enough did not have those restrictions. Close Enough was essentially regular show, completely unrestricted, and it was incredible. And there were 3 seasons, and I didn't even really get to absorb like half of the second season and the entirety of the third season, because the day I found out they were taking it off the HBO Max, it was like just in the middle of the workday, so I was working, and I don't watch. I'm not the type of person that can watch a TV show and work. I know some people do that when they're working from home on their computers. They can watch a TV show that they've seen 1,000 times and work at the same time. Whenever I'm watching something, even if it's a show that I've seen 1,000,000 times, I need to give it all my attention. But because the show was about to end, I was like, well, I got to try and finish it before it gets to the time where it's going to be off HBO. So I had to work and watch it, and I barely was paying attention because I had to work. And I didn't really get to enjoy it, even though I thought it was really good, and I had fallen behind a season and a half. I was so mad. I really wanted to sit down and enjoy those seasons, but I couldn't, and that sucks. And now they're making a new regular show, which I feel like I don't think he would be making a new regular show if he could have just continued making Close Enough. I think he would have preferred to make something new rather than go back to something old. But at the end of the day.
But how do you make a new regular show? Like, how do you continue that? The way that they ended it is like they just, wrapped it up entirely.
But
so I didn't know it could be continued.
Like a huge time jump, so it could take place in between that and like show the stuff leading up to that, or it could take place after that and just hijinks of them all being older and like parents and stuff like that. That could be fun. Sure. It would be nice if it was an Adult Swim show, but I don't think they'll do that because they wanted to get as big of an audience as wide of an audience as possible. So it'll probably be like it used to be, where it's like, you know, a lot of adult jokes, but it's on Cartoon Network, it's for kids. But along with that, Rebecca Sugar will be creating an Adventure Time movie along with Adam Muto and Patrick McHale. So the minds behind Steven Universe, Adventure Time, and Over the Garden Wall are coming together to make a movie. And there are also 2 other Adventure Time spin-offs being made that I didn't look up what exactly they were, but I just know that they're happening. So yeah, you know, Adventure Time has been getting a lot of spin-offs. You know, they got the Distant Lands, which wrapped up a bunch of the main character stories. Which if you haven't seen it, watch the Finn and Jake episode last. Because the way it came out was, you know, animation takes time. And there was something that went on behind the scenes. So they had to release the Finn and Jake episode before the Peppermint Butler episode, which was supposed to be, like, Finn and Jake was supposed to be last. So if you watch the Finn and Jake episode before the Peppermint Butler episode, it just, there's a lack of, like, impact for the ending. Because actually Finn and Jake are, like, the biggest, the most, the main characters, basically. So having them be, like, in the middle of the series versus at the very end is weird. And so when I was watching it as it was coming out, that was strange. So when I rewatch it, I'm probably watch it in the order it's meant to be watched, with BMO, Marceline Bubblegum, Peppermint Butler, then Finn and Jake. And then there was Fiona and Cake, which was really fun. Have you guys seen any of the, like, spin-offs from Adventure Time?
I have not.
Cake. Did not finish it. You need to.
Yeah, they're both really good.
I have watched them before, but I believe my memory might be a bit rusty. So if given time, I could probably binge them all again.
Yeah, Fiona Cake was I forget what it had, like, a whatever the, like, I think it might have been TV-14. I know it was some high rating, and it did, like, some more adult stuff than you would normally see in Adventure Time. Adventure Time, similar to regular show, tends to, like, have some adult jokes and stuff like that. But with Fiona and Cake, they were just straight up able to do that and tell those jokes. And that's part of what gives me hope that maybe they'll do that with regular show, is because they did it with Adventure Time. They actually allowed them to just make an adult version of it. So that was cool.
I just know this movie is going to be the saddest thing on planet Earth if it's Rebecca Sugar and the creator of Over the Garden Wall.
But it's also going to have some of the best music you've ever heard in your entire life.
Oh, for sure.
But there was a trailer for Arcane Season 2. The final chapter, as it's being called. And it looked real good. Of course it did. It's Arcane. Arcane easily is one of my favorite animated series ever created of all time, forever. The GOAT. I love Arcane so much. I watched it twice while it was coming out. I would watch because they released 3 episodes a week, and it was 9 episodes. So I watched the 3 episodes, and then before the next 3 episodes came out, the next like Friday, I would watch those 3 episodes again. And then I rewatched it again at some point, and then I rewatched it again with a friend, and then I rewatched it again. It's so good. I'm gonna do the same thing with second season.
I need to rewatch it, honestly, because I feel like there's, like, some hidden secrets in there that you're gonna miss it, like, once or twice, but you gotta rewatch it like 3 or 4 times so you can catch it.
End up going to go watch, like, a lot of the animated trailers because of that. A lot of which were done by the studio that animates the show. That's why they got them to animate the show. And I low-key spoiled myself on a very specific story aspect that I'm not going to tell you guys about because I don't want to spoil it for you. But because I was just...
I know what you're talking about.
I was thirsting. And then the rumor, people were, like, coming up with rumors about, you know, that one dude that we saw at the end that was chained up. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. And even though it's not going to be a surprise when it's revealed, it'll still be fun. And it'll for sure still be extremely well written. Something we talked about last episode.
Don't look at any character lore.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If you want to, like, stay curious, don't look at any game character lore.
Don't look up anything about League of Legends if you want to enjoy the show. Just go in complete surprise if you want to. If you want to go in complete surprise, just don't look up anything. But something we talked about, they showed a teaser a while back that was like a very small snippet from this trailer, like weeks before the trailer came out, where it was Vi becoming an enforcer, you know, the cops in that universe. And a lot of people were confused, which, like, if you just have, like, a passing knowledge in League of Legends, you know that Vi is a cop in the games. So a decent amount of people were surprised because they just didn't know that. They don't know anything about the games because, you know, like we said, stay away from the games if you don't want to know anything. And I trust them to tell a very nuanced story, and that eventually, I don't think Vi is going to stay a cop in this show, because this show is very clearly against the system and the government, and is showing that they are bad and have just been doing everything the wrong way for decades. So I don't expect for them to try and tell the story of good cops. I think it's going to be like, they're going to try to be good cops, but the system needs to be fundamentally torn down and rebuilt from the ground up. Which is kind of the whole point of the Undercity in general, where they're trying to separate themselves and become something else. So I'm interested to see how they handle that. But also, there's a little video, after they said it was the final chapter, people went crazy, like, oh my God, did Netflix cancel it? What's going on? Why is it only 2 seasons? There's so much story left to tell. And one of the co-creators essentially said, like, we've always planned this ending because we want to explore other parts of the League of Legends universe in both TV and film with Fortiche and possibly other animation studios. If you know anything about League, it's big. There are a lot of characters. There are places outside of Piltover and Zon. It's just a gigantic world of various different types of characters that people will be surprised to know what types of characters actually exist in this world. Again, I don't want to spoil it for people who don't know. I want them to be surprised. So they can't spend too long in one place because there's just so much to get to. And some of these stories
is so hard.
Yeah, and some of these
and
stories
they did it so perfectly.
It's crazy how in that first season they managed to perfectly build up this incredible world, and it's only a small fraction of it. It's insane that we've only seen a piece. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. Love Arcane. I'm curious if they're gonna stick with the Arcane name for their other spin-offs, or if they're gonna call them something different. But speaking of Fortiche, the studio that works on this, it was revealed, their next project was revealed at the Annecy Animation Festival, and it's going to be a sci-fi animated feature film titled Penelope of Sparta, set in a world inspired by Greek mythology. Developed by Jerome Combe and Sylvia, let me see if I can pronounce this last name, Martellossi, with Rael Lyra as art director. Combe told Variety, "We felt a strong desire to embark on an original project and create a feature film specifically designed for the cinema, following the success of Arcane. In an era where most projects are reboots or based on existing IPs, our challenge was to develop something original while staying on familiar ground for audiences. Technically, this is based off of Homer's Odyssey, so it's like original IP is a stretch, but technically this is a piece of something somebody wrote this before, and it's not like Homer actively wrote something based off Greek mythology. It's not like this is like some ancient text that people think is actually a part of Greek mythology, like the Bible. But anyway, but yeah, they say it's inspired by Homer's Odyssey. Our new project delves into the untold story of Penelope, exploring who she was before the image we have of her today. It's a passion project that combines our love for coming-of-age narratives and sci-fi elements. So, of course, it'll utilize the studio's graphic signature of mixing 2D with painted visuals and 2D textures, similar to something like Spider-Verse. But to get a little deeper into a synopsis of the story, aimed at audiences 13 and older, the young adult film is a sci-fi coming-of-age story about Penelope, the heroine from Homer's The Odyssey. Set in a world inspired by ancient Greece, it will follow the 17-year-old as she attends an elite high school with other famous characters of lore, including Achilles, Helen, Circe, Agamemnon, and Odysseus. Given the lofty social standing of the students, the atmosphere is highly competitive. While most of the kids are constantly trying to one-up each other, Penelope ignores the typical motivations of her peers and instead focuses on a mission given her by her father, the king of Sparta, who has tasked the girl with freeing the people of Sparta from Athens' imperial clutches. And yeah, this just sounds real cool. And in fact, look up Penelope of Sparta Fortiche. I need you all to look this up right now, because the poster is incredible. In fact, I'll just send it to you right now. It looks ridiculous. I'm just used to having Aiara look stuff up when I bring stuff up. But if you can send it, because you looked it up faster than me.
I can send it.
If you can send that poster, the poster looks incredible, and if this is what the movie is gonna look like, I'm real excited.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, it looks incredible, and we've seen
That
that
was
work.
not what I was expecting.
Yeah, it's Homer's Odyssey, but in high school, which is interesting. But Eric, I didn't ask you. Have you seen Arcane and like, you like it?
For me, I think I only remember watching a few episodes, but I was never really that far into the lore for League of Legends, so
Good.
I wasn't sure what I had gotten myself into. But I do plan on finishing that at some point.
Yeah, it's real good. Definitely worth the watch. So, wrapping up animation, we have My Adventures with Superman. It has been officially renewed for season 3, which is dope. Because, good God, the last episode was so good. I watched it like a couple hours ago. It was incredible. Easily the best episode of the entire show. This is what I'm talking about, Aiara. They actually wrote a good villain. And everything I was talking about how I was super excited for Supergirl to be in the show because they're best at writing the character relationships between the protagonist and his like supporting cast. I couldn't have been more right. The writing, the relationship between the cousins is so good. Long lost cousins, last of their kind, finally finding someone else like them. It's real cool. It's great. But they had in the episode she appeared in, which was last episode, she was dressed like Android 18. And there's a lot of anime references in My Adventure with Superman. People working on it are, just people who grew up watching anime, especially Dragon Ball Z. But the toxic nerds online just can't fathom American cartoons taking inspiration from anime. And, people love anime, but then they get so mad when other like storytelling mediums or like other cultures take inspiration from it, despite that just meaning that we'll get more of the thing that we love in a slightly different form. It's weird. There's also been a debate about Dragon Ball Z being inspired by Superman because of the Dragon Ball Z references in the show and people comparing them, and a lot of toxic nerds think that they're breaking new ground by telling people, no, he wasn't inspired by Superman. He was actually inspired by Sun Wukong from Journey to the West. Like, that's like some newfound knowledge that people didn't already know. That's like basic knowledge about Dragon Ball Z. And the simple answer...
know anything about Dragon Ball Z, and I knew that.
Like, the simple answer to this problem is also that, like, he was inspired by both. That's an option. I hope people know that. You don't have to pick one. Toriyama, infamously a Superman fan. He makes reference to Superman in his earlier manga, Dr. Slump. Akira Toriyama knows who Superman is because he's Superman. Everybody knows who he is. He likes Superman. He took some inspiration from Superman for Goku, and that's okay. He's not a carbon copy.
Is a lot of manga artists and like people who do animation take inspiration from American media, like music and everything.
Literally,
like, what do you think JoJo is?
Exactly. Like, and I don't want to try to make it seem like America's the root of everything, but like the reality.
No, not at all.
The reality is, literally, anime exists because of American cartoons. That's not a lie. Astro Boy, the first like manga and anime, was inspired by Mickey Mouse and like Disney cartoons from that era. It's like, and then it comes back around to where then Americans see what Japanese people are doing with cartoons, and then they take inspiration, and it goes in a circle, and it goes around and around. It's been doing that for decades. Back with samurai films and westerns. Westerns came out. Mm-hmm. Japanese people saw westerns, like, that's really cool. And then they made samurai films that were heavily inspired by westerns, and then westerns started seeing samurai films and started making westerns inspired by samurai films, and it just went in a circle. That's just how this works. The East and West have been sharing stuff like that for years. That's why we have like Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's why stuff like that exists. It's why Cowboy Bebop exists.
Trigun also.
Trigun, Cowboy Bebop. Come on now. We can go on and on all day. My Hero Academia. Come on. People love to shit on Superman, but then All Might will be like one of their favorite anime characters. If you like All Might and don't like Superman, you're stupid. They're the same character. They're literally the same character. You just got to find the right story. But yeah, like I said, season 6 is incredible. I forgot to check. I'm gonna have to look this up later. I think the person voice. So I think in like one of the early trailers, I remember saying that I don't know if you remember, I said I wasn't sure how I felt about Brainiac's voice. I think he might be voiced by the same person that voices Kronos in Hades 2, and because of that, I love his voice. Because I've been playing so much Hades 2, and I hear his voice so much, and I'm like, oh, this is a perfect voice for Brainiac. It works so good. And Brainiac in this is he's good. He's evil. He's cold. He's calculating. He's great. And the stuff going on with Supergirl is without spoiling. It's giving Invincible vibes a little bit, but I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't want to ruin it for nobody. Check out my Invincible Supergirl.
Oh my
it's real
gosh.
good.
I actually started watching Invincible again.
Oh, so
Crazy
good.
stuff.
So good.
By proxy, my girlfriend watches it, and so I'll peek over her shoulder every once in a while. It's getting
You know what? Just
It's
remind
so
me.
crazy.
I need to finish rereading the manga. I'm like close towards. I mean the manga, the comic, because it's I'm close towards the end again. Because I had binged it in like 2 weeks. Back when Invincible was airing, I decided to read the manga first.
Yeah.
I keep calling it
Hey.
manga. Technically, they're the same thing, but you know what I mean. I read
Yeah.
the comic first. I binged it in like 2 weeks, but because of that, stuff got jumbled in my brain. I read it too fast. So when season 2 came about, I started like rereading it. Or like when the trailer for season 2 came out, I started rereading it and like taking my time so I can actually absorb the information more. And yeah, Invisible comic is just good. If you haven't read the comic, I would definitely advise checking that out at some point because they're different enough that they're
Agreed.
both like wholly unique experiences versus like even though Invincible is much more one-to-one than most American comic book adaptations, it's still like not like a manga. It's not like completely one-to-one, so you don't like it's different enough. Have you seen Invincible, Eric?
Yeah, I'm still actually watching the recent season. I think I'm about one more episode.
Yeah.
But,
Hopefully they learn from the mistakes of season 2 of splitting it in half like that. If they were to split in half like that, they should have just waited until the beginning of this year to release it all. Because it completely killed the momentum of the show and its popularity. So like hopefully they don't make that mistake again.
I would have definitely been fine waiting for possibly another year if it meant keeping everything cohesive.
Yeah. Hopefully they realize that was the wrong move. But we'll see. Moving on to comics. We're gonna start off with a little bit of sad news. Rest in peace, the Comicstorian. The very very popular American comic book YouTuber passed away. In an incident. We don't know exactly what happened, but it's sad. I was real upset that day when I heard about it. Back when I didn't have money of my own, and I could the only places I read comic books were from the library. All the many comics I couldn't get my hands on because I couldn't afford it or couldn't find at the library. I would watch YouTube videos about it, and the two YouTubers I watched the most was Comics Explained and Comicstorian. And a lot of my comic knowledge from like back when I was younger, like middle school, early high school, came from those YouTube channels and filling in the gaps of comics that I just couldn't get access to. And like Comicstorian was just really important to me becoming as big of a fan of comic books as I am today, especially DC Comics. So it hit real hard. It's sad to hear. He was very young. He was not that old. He was like late 30s at the youngest. Like it was wild.
I'd like to add something as well. As someone who like religiously reads comics or like manga per se, when it comes to DC and Marvel comics specifically, it was always more difficult for me to read those than it was for manga since it seemed for me that words were so all over the place when it came to comics, like that came from America. So when I actually stumbled upon Comicstorian, the way he explained it, it was actually a lot easier for me to digest the story. And I had viewed a lot of his a lot of his videos where he summarized the story. So when I heard about that was a pretty heavy blow, and I just hope he, you know, rests peacefully.
Yeah. So I don't usually talk about the manga I read because I think I mentioned it last time. Just people spoil manga too much. People spoil manga all the time and constantly, and I don't want to be part of that problem, so I just don't talk about it. Of course, I would give spoiler alerts, but like me and Aiara don't really read the same manga, so other than Chainsaw Man, which you're not caught up on, so We just haven't talked about manga. When we were both caught up on Chainsaw Man, we would talk about that. But because we're not, I just tend to not talk about it. But just to mention what I'm reading Kaiju number 8 still. And it's like a spin-off mini stories that they do outside of the main story that show like the backstories of some of the side characters. I'm reading Kagurabachi. If you guys remember those memes about that anime with the dude with the katana that like everybody was saying like this is gonna be the biggest thing ever. It actually is really good. So people weren't necessarily wrong about all those jokes. Reading Chojin X, which is the series made by Sui Ishida, the creator of Tokyo Ghoul. This is their current series that they're doing. It's really good so far. What else? Again, Chainsaw Man, of course. Jujutsu Kaisen, fully caught up on that. And I gotta stay caught up because the internet, this is like almost it's arguably worse than Attack on Titan, worse than One Piece. People do not give a damn. People will spoil Jujutsu Kaisen unprompted. You will go and ask them. You'll go and ask them about something completely unrelated, and be like, "Oh yeah, so yeah, this person's dead. What are you talking about? What does that have to do with anything? We were talking about tuna sandwiches. What does Jujutsu Kaisen have to do with that?"
The only reason I know what happens in it is because of spoilers.
Don't say
it. That's it.
I haven't
watched it.
Something I absolutely worried about talking about because when you mentioned unpromptly, I thought I had a situation like that recently with one of the One Piece chapters that came out.
Dog.
And I was just scrolling through Instagram, and all of a sudden I saw a reel that just said XX happened. I'm like, why did you tell me that?
Gear
I
5.
wanted to see it myself.
Gear 5 is one of the worst kept secrets in all of anime history. Literally, it got to the point to where Shonen Jump and Viz Media was just like, well, it's too late, so we might as well advertise it ourselves and get the money. It was crazy.
There was also those people that were making the whole war about Gear 5 being more iconic than Super Saiyan,
which is like
and
stupid.
I had thought in that moment, if it was as iconic as Super Saiyan, you wouldn't be throwing it around on the internet as much as you would, because that did not happen with Super Saiyan. I'll tell you that much.
It's just, I don't even know how that conversation started because it makes no sense. But also like My Hero, people be spoiling My Hero sometimes too, and it's close to ending. We're so close. There's like a few chapters left. I thought there was one left because it felt like the next chapter. Well, they literally called it the next chapter was going to be the epilogue, and then the next chapter happened, and then they said there was going to be another one. I was like, this isn't how epilogues work. What are you doing? But yeah, My Hero's almost over, which is interesting. I'm excited to see what they make next. I low-key would love to see the My Hero Academia creator work on an American comic. Honestly, I think that'd be really cool. Work on like a 6-issue miniseries of like Spider-Man or something, because I think Spider-Man is their favorite superhero. That would be really cool. But yeah, moving on to some American comics I'm reading. I'm reading George Perez's Wonder Woman run from the 80s, and there's some more of that good old victim blaming Aiara. It's weird because the story will be like some of the best shit you've ever read in your entire life, and then it'll go back talking about what happened to the Amazons, and I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Why are you being so weird? So just to explain what happened, the very first issue is about the this story essentially redefined a lot of Wonder Woman lore back in the 80s, and is a very iconic Wonder Woman story, if not the most iconic. And they told the origin of the Amazons at the beginning, and the goddesses came together, created the Amazons to send to Earth to try and teach people how to be better, to spread love and peace. But the world's sexist, so they immediately turned against them, and they were all isolated to Themyscira, not the island, but it was just a city in not Athens, but Lesbos, and which is really funny. It was really funny. When I was reading it and it said Lesbos, I was like, that's insane. That's what the city was called? That's where Sappho is from? That's ridiculous. The city was called Lesbos. But yeah, the city was in Lesbos. So some king sent Hercules to go and like kill them all. He lost. He got his ass beat by the queen of the Amazons, Hippolyta. And then he said, okay, we give up. In fact, we'll join you on your quest for peace and love. And they threw a party. It was a trick. He drugged Hippolyta, murdered a bunch of them, and as far as I can tell, literally every single one of them were violated in some type of way. It was horrible. And then Athena, the goddess of wisdom, had the nerve to try and blame the Amazons for being sexually assaulted and saying like, this is your fault because you were supposed to be out there spreading peace. Why are you hiding behind these walls of your city in this lesbian country? Go out there and do some stuff. You know what? We're gonna send you to Paradise Island, and you're gonna be prison wardens to all of the worst Greek monsters that are in a prison called Doom's Doorway under the island, and this is your punishment. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? They didn't do anything wrong.
She's got a track record though, Athena, because of what happened to Medusa. Same sort of situation.
For sure.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm not mistaken, was it her that turned that lady into a spider, Arachne?
It was. Yep, sure was.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. Athena is low key. Don't got a good track record.
Athena's like the number one Greek hater. Like.
But yeah, there's a recent comic that came out not too long ago, a few years ago, I read, called Wonder Woman Historia, that retells that origin, where they make a change to where they get revenge. Like the goddesses don't blame them, which is weird. They instead they go and they just fucking murder Hercules, or Heracles as he's called in Greek. And yeah, they just murder him, and that is then when they get punished by Zeus, who wanted to like, kill them all, but then he was talked down by Hera, and instead they were isolated. Themyscira. I was like, that makes a lot more sense thematically, where it's like they go and get revenge for the horrible thing that was done to them, and then the man punishes them and isolates them. That thematically just makes a lot more sense for the story than victim blaming from Athena. But anyway, in this story, it turns out Heracles is in Doom's Doorway down there with all the worst monsters. He was punished by his father Zeus for what he did. But through this challenge that Wonder Woman is going through, he ends up saving her mother. And then they hint at maybe there being some type of romance between them. And I'm like, that's weird.
Really weird.
He her. What are you doing? That's weird. No, I don't mean to curse. I don't usually curse as much in this podcast. I'm gonna have to cut some of those curse words out. But still, it was weird. It was very strange. I don't like it. And I kind of just have to pretend Heracles is dead, and that Wonder Woman Historia is the way that it went, because technically that is what Wonder Woman Historia is. It's like retcons that. So I'm like, that never happened. I'm gonna pretend like it never happened. Heracles is dead. He got literally ripped apart. He's gone. This isn't happening. But speaking of Wonder Woman, I also read the current ongoing Wonder Woman comic, issue number 9, and it was so good. Y'all gotta read yourself some Wonder Woman comics, okay? Wonder Woman comics are great. She deserves so much
If you
respect.
send them, I will look.
Oh yeah, for sure. Subscribe to DC Universe Infinite to just read some DC comics. They're real good. I mostly read DC more than Marvel. When I read Marvel, it's usually just Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Thor, with a few other people strung about, but I mostly read DC. And once again, I feel like I have to burp, but it's not happening. It always happens when I'm recording. But Wonder Woman has been captured by the Sovereign and is being tortured through sensory deprivation. And so to keep sane, she imagines herself with her longtime love interest, Steve Trevor, in her mind every night. And the entire issue takes place over several different imagined scenarios between Diana and Steve within her head. And every issue of this run so far has had like iconic Wonder Woman moments that I feel like will go down in history. It's so good. You can easily read this story without having read any other Wonder Woman story. So you can just start from Wonder Woman 2024, number 1, by Tom King. It's so good. I've read Superman, House of Brainiac special, one-shot. This is a little story arc that's spanning across several comics between Superman and Action Comics. And this special one-shot is like 2.5 in the story in terms of parts. And this issue focuses on Brainiac and learning about his motivations for continuously going after Superman and his family over the years. And seemingly it's because he just can't understand how humans can change and grow as people. And, that's what I love about comics and Superman. The message they're trying to get across is, in this issue, is very idealistic and hopeful and maybe even naive. But that's kind of the whole point of superheroes, to show us that we can be better. And Brainiac just can't fathom that. He can't understand that people could change or do better. And that's why he just keeps coming back to try and learn. Poison Ivy, issue 22. Ivy faces off against the man partially responsible for her creation, Jason Woodrue, aka the Floronic Man, as he uses the cordyceps zombies Ivy accidentally created. I say accidentally; she did it on purpose. She was trying to kill everybody, but he took them and is trying to turn everybody in the world into like plant animal hybrids. Birds of Prey. I can't remember what issue this was. After Barbara Gordon is pulled through a portal in the last issue, the rest of the Birds of Prey consisted of Big Barda, Black Canary, Batgirl, not Barbara Gordon, the second Batgirl, Cassie Kane. Don't worry, I know it's confusing. And they end up in a very beautifully drawn world, like noir world, by the artist by Jonathan Case, with the coloring being done by Jordi Belair. And yeah, the art in this comic has just been real good. I forget who does the main art. Damn, I can't remember the name right now, but their art is so good, and they do a lot of flat coloring in this, very reminiscent of comics from like the 90s and earlier, where they did a lot of flat colors. And honestly, I just prefer flat colors. As I read more and more comics from like the 90s and 80s, like just flat colors are supreme. The super complicated coloring that's done in comics nowadays is good. It can be pretty, but sometimes it can be a bit much, and like flat coloring is just the way to go. But to wrap this up, Alan Scott Green Lantern. It ends with a literal bang as the Justice Society of America comes to Green Lantern's aid against the Crimson Host. And this comic and all the other Golden Age stories where they're telling stories of like Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern, Jay Garrick, the original Flash, and they told one about I forget his first name, but something Dodds, Sandman. They've all been really good so far, and I hope we get more stories with these Golden Age characters. But yeah, you know what? I was gonna say we're gonna skip TV and film, but you know we're gonna talk about the Acolyte a little bit, the currently ongoing Star Wars show. A video was posted on the Star Wars YouTube channel about the lead actress Amandla Stenberg and her skills as a violinist, where she talked about her love of the Star Wars score by John Williams. So John Williams actually wrote a violin part for her to play, and that was really cool. And you've truly got to be racist or sexist to hate this woman. She's a true fan. And you know, especially God, Star Wars community sucks so bad. It sucks how much it sucks. Because I love Star Wars so much, but people are so mean and so rude and racist and sexist all the time. It's like, bro, just enjoy it for what it is, or if you don't like it, don't watch it. And you know, to an extent, you're allowed to be upset if something you don't like is constantly making stuff that you don't like. But you got to be respectful, and critique doesn't mean attacking people and insulting people. That's not how that works. You critique what is being made, not the person. It's real weird. But you know what? I should have skipped over comics. You guys reading anything? Or like, speaking of like American comics, since as far as I can tell, a lot of you guys don't read American comics like that. Anything you want to ask me, or like anything I said interest you? Like we were talking about Wonder Woman, which we're gonna get into Wonder Woman very soon after that.
Definitely gonna read this Wonder Woman run for sure.
I feel like there was something you said, but like that I was interested in, but like it left my mind. I was holding on to it, and then it just left.
Yeah, I know you said something about like sending you maybe like some of the comics.
Yeah, for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I'll definitely send those links after this. Yeah, these comics are real good. But speaking of Wonder Woman, so I don't know if you guys remember or if you even knew, but we got some new concept art and information about the upcoming Wonder Woman game. So
wait, there's a game?
Exactly. Yeah, there's a game. They showed a little teaser, a little CGI cinematic years ago, and I'm talking years ago. It's been a minute. It's been like two. I don't remember. It's been like 2, maybe 3 years since they showed it. And we saw some concept art, but now we see more concept art, and we got a little bit more information that I'm going to read. You are Wonder Woman in the single-player action-adventure game developed by Monolith Productions. The powerful sorceress Circe has invaded your island homeland of Themyscira, leading an army of Cyclops, Gorgons, and other monsters. It is up to you, as champion of the Amazons, to return home and fight their treachery. Use your godlike strength to deal shattering blows and tear through enemies in an epic battle to protect your birthplace from the invaders. Engage in fast-paced, free-flow combat with devastating combos and wield powerful weapons gifted by the gods, including the iconic Lasso of Truth. As this in this that's written weird. As this original Wonder Woman story unfolds, you must also repair your relationship with your mother, Queen Hippolyta, and your fellow Amazons who feel betrayed by your decision to leave Themyscira many years ago. Over the course of the game, you will encounter iconic DC characters as well as unique cast of procedurally generated allies and enemies. Through the power of the Nemesis system, which I'll talk about what that is later, they will remember your choices and actions and react according to their own beliefs. Fly across the open world Themyscira as you explore the home of the Amazons and discover mythical inhabitants from Greek mythology, fight back against the invaders, and complete your quest to stop Circe from destroying your home and acquiring untold power. So yeah, there's a Wonder Woman game happening, a AAA Wonder Woman game by Monolith Studios, who previously worked on the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games. This sounds great, but we need to actually see something. We need to see gameplay, or at the very least, give us another cinematic trailer or something to show us some more stuff about the story. But based on the fact that this studio has the last two games they made were open world character action character action games, like they got the experience, they know what they're doing. Those games did relatively well, so I'm sure the game will be good. But I know a lot of people have lack of faith in DC games after Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. But we can only hope that the top brass who forced Rocksteady and WB Montreal to make those games have learned what went wrong and will let them just make games that people actually want instead of cash grabs that you think it's weird, because they will make these mistakes and not learn from them and think that, oh, we must have just done it wrong rather than the whole idea is wrong. You're trying to do something to get quick cash or try and make a lot of money, and then it doesn't work. I think at that point you should know this isn't the way to make money using this property. So just make a good game. But yeah, Wonder Woman's great. I for a very long time, maybe I've talked about it with you, Aiara, maybe not. I know I talked about it with Amir about how I just had a misunderstanding of the character of Wonder Woman. I feel like a lot of people do, especially since she's just unfortunately doesn't get as much exposure as she should. Despite that fact, she's still incredibly popular. I think a lot of people underestimate how popular Wonder Woman is simply because of that lack of exposure. Despite that, she is consistently in the top 5 superhero in terms of rankings across the world. And if you look in various different places, she's always up there, just below Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, and I say top 5 because of the popularity of Iron Man in the MCU, and with Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, he skyrocketed up there. But she's always up there, with the big guns that she deserves to be standing beside. And she maintains that spot despite never having her own solo cartoon, only having 2 live-action movies and 1 live-action show, and only just now getting her own video game. Because just like Superman, she's a symbol that transcends comics. Superman represents hope, Wonder Woman represents peace and love. And above even that, she's the number 1 representative of woman in comics. She is the undisputed most popular female hero on the face of the planet Earth. Despite the rising popularity of Harley Quinn and Captain Marvel, despite how popular Storm is, Wonder Woman still stands at the top of the mountain. So the moment we start getting consistently good Wonder Woman content, her popularity is going to skyrocket, because people already don't understand that she still is extremely popular despite what people think. Also, similar to Superman, I think people think she's a lot more boring than she is, that she doesn't have interesting villains. Admittedly, she doesn't have as many villains as characters like Superman, Batman, or the Flash and Spider-Man. But she does have plenty, and they are all interesting. And I'm hoping, especially since they mentioned that they will be using the Nemesis system. So the Nemesis system is something that people have been wanting to see come back for years, but unfortunately WB patented it, so no one else could use it. Essentially, the system takes random enemies that the player defeats and has certain ones come back to try and enact revenge several times over until the enemy becomes an unscripted recurring villain throughout the entire game. And it was created by Monolith for Shadow of Mordor and was last used in the sequel Shadow of War. And yeah, adding that to a lot of the lesser known Wonder Woman villains and actually, allowing people to build their own relationships with those characters would be very fun, and I think will endear a lot of people to those characters and have people recognize how great her rogues gallery is. Like Cersei. Cersei is a character I've not even encountered. That's not true. She shows up in Justice League Unlimited for one episode, or maybe two. This is my own experience with her, and I'm only just now getting to a point in I think, in the current, not the current, but in George Perez's Wonder Woman, where Cersei is the villain of an arc. I think so. Nothing has been revealed, but they mentioned Hecate, who is a witch, and so is Cersei. So I assume that the villain is Cersei, but they haven't shown her face. It's like, how villains are introduced sometimes, where it's like them sitting in a chair enveloped in darkness, and you don't see who it is. But I'm pretty sure that's Cersei, even though I don't really know what she looks like because I haven't seen a lot of her. So I feel like I'm coming upon one of her most popular stories, featuring her. So yeah, she despite being one of Wonder Woman's more popular villains, who knows who she is? Nobody. I barely know who she is, and I read comics every goddamn day. So, Wonder Woman just deserves so much more. What do you guys think? How do you feel about Wonder Woman? How do you feel about a Wonder Woman game?
Me personally,
go on.
I was just saying, me personally, I'm excited. I'm in that boat of not knowing much about her, but I want to know more. As a former Greek mythology nerd, and I say former, I'm still a current one. It's fun to see how they work in that inspiration. I want to see more of that. I like that Circe is a villain. I really, really like that, actually. It's really exciting to see. You don't see much media about her in Greek mythology ever. Off top, there's the Odyssey, which is her point of origin, and then the book Circe by Madeline Miller, the author of Song of Achilles, and that's all I can think of. So to know or to find out that she's a main villain in Wonder Woman is super cool. It means it's well researched. So I'm super excited.
I was just gonna say that, like you mentioned earlier, how she's not really advertised, but she's well known. It's even in animated films where she's not even in it, they mention her. They always bring her up in anything and everything, and I'm like, man, she's just that girl. I remember I watched the live action movie with her, and I was thoroughly I was through the roof. It was amazing. I think I watched it with my mom. I think I was hyped up afterwards.
Yeah, how about you, Eric? Any thoughts on Wonder Woman?
Not much per se. I mean, so far anyway. I usually get a better thought of it when I'm actually viewing it in person. I could say I'd very much be interested in actually viewing the design of it.
Yeah. That's a good point. Aiara, if you wouldn't mind, searching up a Wonder Woman video game concept art and sending that in the chat. So yeah, her design looks very
I looked it up while you were
interesting.
talking, and it looks pretty interesting, the graphics.
Oh, it does look good.
Yeah, so it's gonna be open world. From what I understand, the combat is gonna be similar to the Batman games, and being in an open world and flying is something that we unfortunately just don't get very often. So being able to play as a superhero and just actually fly, not glide like in the Batman games or the Spider-Man games, but straight up fly, is gonna be real fun. Rocksteady, the studio behind the Arkham games and who made Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, is supposedly, well, not supposedly, they're working on a new game. I pray it's a Superman game. I know they wanted to make a Superman game at one point. There's a rumor that probably isn't true, but that Suicide Squad Kill Justice League was supposed to be a Superman game. It takes place in Metropolis, and that it was originally meant to be Superman, but they ended up being forced to make Suicide Squad. And if that's true, I would love for them to take the map, the gigantic map, because from my understanding, it's double the size of the Arkham Knight map. Take that map, build on it, and turn that into a Superman game would be incredible. Because that game already has a lot of crazy traversal, so the map is already kind of built around that. So, I don't make games. I want to work in the industry at some point, but I don't know exactly how it works. But I wonder if they could take what they have in terms of the city that they already built out and use that for a Superman game. I think that would be really cool. because their version of Metropolis is pretty cool looking, and it's real big. And with a character like Superman who flies around all fast, you need a real big map. And yeah, you get to explore the entirety of Themyscira, and I assume that also means Doom's Doorway, which is like I said, like this prison located under Themyscira for all of the Greek pantheon's worth monsters. Hopefully, some characters I want to see other than a lot of her villains is Nubia. I've been talking about Nubia. Nubia is essentially Black Wonder Woman. I think she was created in like the 70s or 80s. I think the 80s. And recently she's just had a resurgence. She's currently in the comics the Queen of Themyscira after Queen Hippolyta died. And her comics have just been great. She has comics, again, you don't need to know anything about her before reading them. What is it? Nubia and the Amazons, and then you have Nubia, Queen of the Amazons, and you have Amazon's Attack, which is a tie-in with the current Wonder Woman comic. And it's real good. Wonder Woman's just great, and we need more of her. I think I want to ask you guys about like other superhero games you guys like, but before that, I think that superheroes, for the most part, thrive in open world games because most superheroes have really fun traversal, and it's easier to feel that power fantasy in an open world than in a linear game, especially for characters like Superman or like the Flash or like Green Lantern, characters where mobility is really important, like flying and running really fast. And or like Aquaman, like swimming super quick through the ocean would be really cool. And so like open world is like honestly the best way to do it, but there should also be some room for like more linear or like diving into different genres. Like I feel like Marvel does that a lot. Which we'll actually get to a Marvel game that does that later. Like we have Midnight Suns, which is a like RTS game, real time strategy, and we have a few RPGs, and they do some interesting things. I think a like Hades style roguelike where you play as Nubia, who somehow gets trapped within Doom's Doorway and has like to escape and make her way up, would be really cool.
That would be fun.
And also Flash game inspired by like a combination of like Sonic, the 3D Sonic games, and what's that game called? Ghost Runner would be really cool. But yeah, you guys have any like superheroes that you think would make a really cool game that you'd like to play?
That's a good question.
I want to see more X-Men games.
Oh, for sure. We're gonna get to that.
Marvel vs. Capcom, great, and we're gonna get to that too. Yeah. But I want more.
I don't want to see any more heroes. I want to see more villains.
Ooh, true.
So
I'm more of a villain kind of girl.
I mean,
or at least give me like an anti-hero kind of thing.
Yeah, I want a Harley Quinn game that's inspired by Saints Row.
That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Get Volition, the studio that makes Saints Row, to make a Harley Quinn game. That would be fire. I feel like everything about Saints Row, specifically like Saints Row 3 and 4, where they started getting real goofy and outlandish and like incorporating superhero stuff, would make a lot of sense for a Harley Quinn game. Like all the wacky weapons, and Harley Quinn uses guns, so like it would make a lot of sense, and I feel like that'd be really cool. This kind of like GTA Saints Row inspired Harley Quinn game would be super fun. And I think what is it? Like the Saints Row game is about like a gang. What if like Gotham has various different criminal organizations, and like villains themselves have their own like goons and stuff and gangs. What if like you play as Harley Quinn trying to like take over the city and create your own gang, and like you have like Bane and his gang, like Penguin and Riddler and Two-Face, and you're trying to slowly take over the city, and maybe you can like take over their operation, and then you recruit them, or like you end up using weapons that you take from them. I feel like that'd be really fun. Like you get an umbrella from the Penguin. I feel like it could be real cool. That could be interesting. A Harley Quinn game. When it comes to anti-hero games, though, I don't know. I'm trying to think of one other than Red Hood because I feel like it's too basic, and it would be. I don't know who. Apollo, not Apollo. Midnighter, but Midnighter would literally just be Batman but killing people. So, I mean, granted, that would be cool. Midnighter is a DC character who is essentially like, he's very much like Batman, except that he kills people. And, yeah, it would just be another Batman game. I can't think of any off top, but like an Invincible game would be so fun. Invincible game would be.
I feel like it would make me go crazy, especially if they give me like a odd complex.
If they give you the option to be good or evil, it would be
almost
so good.
like Infamous.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Speaking of Infamous, a static game. Static would be so good. By the way, his name is not
Static
Static
would be
Shock.
good.
His name has never been Static Shock. If you watch the show, no one calls him that because it's not his name. That's just the name of the show. His name is Static. Always has been, always will be. In fact, the comics didn't start being called Static Shock until after the show, and even then, they stopped doing that. It's just called Static again. I always
What kind of
have to let people
Mandela
know.
effect?
I know. I always have to let people know because I understand why so many people call him Static Shock, but that's not his name. It's just Static. He's named after a James Brown song that's really good. You should listen to it. Whenever they finally get around to
What?
making that live action Static movie or show, the first trailer better play that goddamn James Brown song. And the first poster better be inspired by the first cover from the first comic. Anyway, yeah, Static game would be really cool, and I would imagine it would play similar to like Infamous.
Oh, I love Infamous.
Yeah, it's good.
Would play it again actually.
Yeah, I'm currently playing through the first one for the first time. I played Second Son, and I bought a
I
PS3
haven't played Second Son.
months ago. Not months ago. Well, yeah, technically months ago, sometime last year. To just get a bunch of PS3 games that I had back when I was playing PS3 games that are still only available on PS3, and ones that I never played. Like I never played the first two Infamous games, so I'm checking those out, and they're real fun. Number one for me is the Flash. I really want a Flash game. People, but with both like the Flash and Superman, people like overcomplicate it about like how that works. Like the one argument you can make about a Flash game is like how you make a character that moves that fast in the open world. Like wouldn't it lag or like things would like pop in and it's like, have you played a racing game ever? Like an open world racing game? Those exist. Also, have you played Spider-Man 2?
Ooh.
Anybody play Spider-Man 2?
No.
Okay,
Which
well,
I mean, maybe.
Huh?
if you play Spider-Man 2, swing around the city, then go back and play Miles Morales, swing around the city, then go back and play the first one, swing around the city.
Oh,
They
okay, I see
move
what you-
so slow. I've gone back to try and play Miles Morales in the first one. They swing so goddamn slow. They're like sloths in comparison to how fast they swing through the city in Spider-Man 2. A Flash game can work. I promise you. He just needs to move as
And then
fast
their
as they move
webs,
in that
like-
game.
Connect to God.
No, not in that game. In the Spider-Man game, they connect to the buildings. And what is it? You go to Queens, and that's why they added gliding, because they added Queens in the second game, and there's not a lot of buildings. So if there aren't any buildings, you're just gonna splat on the ground, and there's no fall damage. But like you can cut on fall damage, and you can die. But yeah,
So I do recall that there was someone on YouTube who made a test run of a Flash game.
Yeah.
And it did look pretty seamless.
there was also a Flash game in development like years and years ago that looked really cool. That I wish it would have happened, but it didn't. Superman game, everybody wants to play Superman. Superman's fun. People, like I said, overcomplicated. Oh, he's too strong. Oh, he's not real. You can do whatever you want. It's not that serious.
By that logic, you would say the same thing about Spider-Man.
Exactly. It's like, oh,
He holds back time.
yeah, he could just rip someone's head off, but he doesn't. You know who else does that? Superman. He doesn't just rip people's heads off because he's Superman. He's not going to kill people. Also, like, there are so many things that can hurt Superman. Like kryptonite, various different types of kryptonite, red sun energy, magic. By the way, he isn't like people think magic is like kryptonite to him. It's not that he has a particular weakness to magic. It's just that, like a normal person, he doesn't have like natural defenses against magic. So he's not like, it's not kryptonite. Somebody uses magic, he's not gonna die, but like he can't do anything against it. But if somebody makes like regular fire using magic, it's still not gonna hurt him. Like people think that like magic is just automatically you beat Superman. It's like no, like you can't just use magic to do basic shit to try and kill Superman. You have to actually do like super powerful magic. Like-
It's like when I hear people compare a character like some character from One Piece to a character from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I don't see any victor coming out of that looks like it would be completely one-sided. It's because the abilities that come from both those worlds are also
different.
unorthodox,
Yeah.
like something that no one would be able to think of. So I think that it's more of when it comes to experience.
Mhm. But yeah, Superman game would be great. Green Lantern game is third, just after Flash Superman for me. Where it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen Green Lantern animated series. It's really good, very underrated. It unfortunately got canceled because the movie was ass, but
That movie, oh my gosh.
so bad.
I watched
Um,
it semi recently. I was like, it wasn't as bad. Goofy.
but I haven't seen it in a long time. I need to rewatch it. But yeah, because the movie didn't do well, the show got canceled. But the show was really good. And they have this ship in that show that it's very much, the show itself is very much like, actually, you know what, Aiara, you would love this show. It's kind of like Star Trek. It's really cool. Loki, that is what Green Lantern needs to be. They keep making Green Lanterns cops. No, they need to be like, what is the company that they work for in Star Trek? They need to be like them and like be exploring the world and like helping people, but not like trying to police people. I feel like that's weird about the Green Lanterns. That they're just space cops. All cops are bad, even Green Lanterns. But moving on so that we can, get to the Nintendo showcase. Hades 2, I'm playing that. It's fun. When I got to Chronos, I got to the second phase first try. It was magical. I couldn't believe it. And then I died to one shot in the second phase. It was crazy. But it's so fun. Any you guys play Hades? I know Aiera plays Hades, but
I played Hades. Do I need to finish Hades before I play Hades 2?
I mean, no, but you should.
Okay.
Yeah, I got this new laptop, but mostly to play Hades, because I wanted to play it in early access.
Okay.
But I use it for other things and other games as well. Like I've been playing so many more games, indie games, because of it. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it's finally over. I finally finished it. If anybody's been listening to this podcast, it's been a struggle for me to finish this game, and it's not because it's a bad game. I just got burnt out towards the end, so it took me forever to build up the energy to finish it. But I finally did it after 104 hours. The game's done.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't do everything. There's still more side quests. And I was planning on doing every side quest, but then I got to a point that I was like, I can't do it. I gotta stop. I gotta finish it. I just gotta mainline it. I gotta do this last mission. And yeah, I understand why so many reviewers found the ending confusing back when the game first came out, because there's a lot going on. And it definitely expects you to have knowledge of damn near the entire Final Fantasy VII compilation, so all of the games, the spin-offs, the movies. And the final fight itself was like wild. It was a spectacle. It was beautiful, but also it had some great moments that had me hyped. Because at first I was getting into it with the idea last night. I literally played it last night because I was like, I gotta finish it before the podcast. I gotta finish it before the 100th episode. So I'm sitting there playing it, and at first I'm just like, all right, I'm just doing it to get it over with. I like the game, but I need it to be done. But then it just got hype, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm back. I'm back. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is good. And it was great. It was hype. That Sephiroth, the very last phase of that boss battle annoyed me to no end. Sephiroth has this goddamn towards the end of the battle, he starts a countdown to this unblockable, unstoppable insta-kill attack where he does Octaslash, and there's nothing you can do about it. You either have to kill him fast or you die. You can't do anything about it other than try to kill him as fast as humanly possible. It took me so many. At first, I didn't know what was happening. I had to go to Reddit. I was like, Reddit, how'd you do this? How'd you do this? I'm frustrated. And everybody in the comments was like, dude, I'm going to kill myself. What is going on? Why can't I beat him? And I'm just like, yeah, what's happening? And yeah, you just have to do an ungodly amount of damage to him before he does the Octaslash, or you will die. And it was unfortunate. But I finally got it, and it was satisfying. It was a really good fight. I think a lot of people were just butthurt in the Reddit comments because it was so hard, and it was kind of frustrating. But I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was like it was a bad mechanic or anything. It was just annoying, and you kind of just had to figure it out. And yeah, I figured it out eventually. But overall, the fight was really fun. It was insanely fun. The entire boss fight. Um, the mechanics in Final Fantasy Rebirth, the combat is very deep, mixture of a real time action and turn based, and it's real good. Have you guys played any of the either the remake or Rebirth?
No, I've seen people play it.
They're fun. They're fun, especially
Not
Rebirth.
completely play it.
I did play a bit of it, but I was much more connected with the original.
Yeah, it's real good so far. I'm excited for what they're gonna do with the third game in the trilogy. But yeah, before we get into the showcase, oh yeah, this was also the third game ever to make me cry. The first game to make me cry was the very end of the prologue of The Last of Us. If you know, you know. Um,
Ah!
and then the very last flashback in The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us just touches my soul. And I learned this a while back of why things that make me cry, and it was the same type of thing in this game that made me cry, involving Aerith's mother dying, which isn't a spoiler, it's just that's known. It was sad. Like, you know, in the first game that she's adopted, like her mother's dead, she's adopted, she got taken care of by someone else. But in this game they have a whole flashback and they show it. They show Aerith, little baby Aerith, you play as her, going to go and try and get help, and then you come back and she's dead. It's sad. I cried. I was I was like, what are you doing to me? I just wanted to have fun. I didn't come here to cry. It was so sad. I can't believe it. It's crazy how they took something that is like, you know, this happened. You're aware that this thing has happened. This isn't like some big secret, but they made it hurt. It was wild. Yeah, paternal stuff just gets me. Anything with a parent and their kid, it makes me cry. I cried at the end of Logan. Shits was sad.
I did too, actually.
The second time I watched that movie, it wasn't the first time when I was watching it in theaters, but when I was just at home watching it by myself, it got me. It got me. There's several other movies with like stuff between a kid and their parent that gets me. It gets
Everything,
me
everywhere, all at once. That got me.
That's a good one. That didn't get me though, but it's a good one. Yeah,
It certainly got me.
But moving on to the last thing we got to talk about. Nintendo Showcase. I realized I forgot to take notes on two things in here, so which I'm just gonna have to talk from memory. So yeah, Nintendo Showcase. Presumably this is potentially the very last Nintendo Switch showcase. There might be showcases about individual games, but this might be the very last before they announce the new console. So we'll see. So the first thing we saw, I'm not going to talk about every single thing we saw, but the first thing we saw was Mario and Luigi Brothership. The brothers return for a brand new adventure on high seas. Set sail with Mario and Luigi on ship-shaped island, part ship, part island, and journey through the vast world of Concordia. What is the name of that island from One Piece that Gecko Moria has? Thriller Bark.
Thriller Bark.
Yeah. And journey through the vast world of Concordia. Launch out of Shipshape's cannon to visit, explore, and quest your way through islands that range from tropical rainforests to bustling cities. Another Mario RPG. They're 3 for 3. They just keep making them. When are they gonna stop?
And also the
I don't
Mario
know.
and Luigi thing too, because I wasn't expecting that to come up. That I remember hearing before that the team that makes those variety of games went bankrupt. Had to be a couple of years ago. I wasn't expecting a Mario and Luigi game.
Yeah.
But I'm
Personally,
excited for that.
I'm not big on Mario RPGs. I'm not big on Mario platformers in general. I don't dislike Mario. I like Mario. I play Mario games. They're cool. But Mario RPGs especially, not for me, but I know you're a fan of Mario RPGs. You like Mario RPG. You like Mario, Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door. You still playing it? You still playing both of them? Did you finish it?
So, as a longtime Mario and Luigi fan, I started with Bowser's Inside Story, but I've played all of them from Superstar Saga to Partners in Time. I have never been more excited for a video game in my entire life, and I know I said that with Mario RPG, Paper Mario, but I really, like, of all the Mario RPGs that exist, the Mario and Luigi series is my favorite because of like the way they play with mechanics and how you get to play as both brothers. I've always adored them. Bowser's Inside Story is probably my favorite. Partners in Time is a close second, but some of the mechanics in Partners in Time are bad. So I'm really excited to see the series come back. I'm sad about Alpha Dream, but I'm glad their legacy lives on. And I've heard, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard there's original devs from the first 3 games on the project, which is really exciting. And this also kind of gives me hope for a Partners in Time remake because they did Superstar Saga and they did Bowser's Inside Story, but then Alpha Dream went bankrupt before they could remake Partners in Time. So I'm fingers crossed that it happens.
Yeah, they need to make a Zelda RPG. I'd play that.
They really should.
We saw a game called Mio, Memories in Orbit. And it was like a what do you call it? Metroidvania with this little dude with like this with blonde hair. I didn't take notes on this. I forgot to, but it looked interesting. It was very like a Ori Will o' Wisp style Metroidvania platformer. It looked interesting. We're getting a. So I'm not again another the only other thing I forgot to take notes on. So I need help here. Is Donkey Kong Country Returns a remaster of a remake, or is it a remake?
It's a remaster of a remake.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It's a remaster of a remake of Donkey Kong Country. Okay.
Yes.
I thought so, but I wasn't sure because I heard somebody talk about it in some podcast in a way that made it seem like it might have been a straight up remake, and I was like, huh? I'm pretty sure this existed before. But yeah, that's happening. When are they gonna make another Donkey Kong game? It's been forever.
For real.
When did Tropical Freeze come out?
I think in like 2018. They've been re-releasing the same Donkey Kong game over and over again, and I don't know how they keep getting away with it.
Yeah. But this one, I want to hear from you, Eric. So, we got a trailer for Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, which is a hell of a name. With the announcement of a 1 and 2 remake right after. Apparently this leaked as a trilogy collection, but they're actually releasing 3 first since it's the first chronologically, and then they'll release 1 and 2. I think it had a date, and I think it was next year. And they'll be released together. And yeah, I'm sure at some point they'll be packaged into one game. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess for one, I do agree with that title. I was having trouble saying that a couple number of times when talking to friends about it. But yeah, I understand now why it's been quite a few number of years since I hadn't heard any news from this particular game. Now I see they were trying to build up these the other 2 games. But I'm excited for it, and I heard there's a collector's edition. I'm gonna try and shoot for that too, even though it's going for like $200.
Oh yeah, collector's editions be crazy. I'm waiting for that collector's edition for Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater remake, and that is also like $200. I'm waiting for that to be back in stock on Best Buy, so I can cop
I
that.
really wouldn't shoot for collector's editions unless I was certain they had a whole bunch of stuff to go with it.
Same.
Because like side topic here, like Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. It has a collector's edition, and it is also $200, I believe. But they only have a statue, and bookmarks. I think that's the only thing.
No steel book. No.
Nothing.
Wow. Okay.
That's for the European version, apparently.
Oh.
That's highly unfortunate, and I'm just gonna get the base game.
It's the same. There's a similar thing going on with the Snake Eater remake, where there's a specifically European specific version that I would prefer to get over the collector's edition. That is cheaper and it comes with less stuff, because I don't really want all the stuff that comes with Loki. It comes with the statue, it comes with the steelbook, and a couple other things. But I just want the steelbook, and the version that they have in the EU just has the steelbook, and I'm like, give me that. I just want the steelbook. But that's not being released in America, so I just gotta get the collector's edition whenever it's available. But yeah, what's your history with Dragon Quest? I know you have that weird goop controller that's from Dragon Quest.
Yeah. Oh, that had to also be somewhere around $200 too. I still play it though. I still play on it.
I don't
As
I don't know
janky
how you could play on it.
feels. I I don't think it was a mistake to buy something like that when it comes to having someone look at me holding that controller and asking a whole bunch of questions.
It's like a teardrop shaped controller that is not, what is the word? Ergonomic at all.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine that being comfortable to play games with. So have you played the original version of these games?
Oh, sorry, which one?
Have you played the original versions of Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3?
Oh yeah, I actually have the games themselves, like in a few versions of the consoles. Like I have the original Famicom versions of the games, and the Super Famicoms, and the Game Boy Color versions where they have the first two games and full third game. And then I have all of the DS versions of the remakes. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. They were they were extremely expensive. um Same with Dragon Quest 9. I finally got to play Dragon Quest 10, even though that's a Japanese only game that you have to pay a subscription for. But I got the offline version that they released a couple of years ago. Um, I think the only one that I don't have a physical copy of yet is Dragon Quest 11. So eventually I'll try to get that.
Cool.
There's a skill. I have pretty much played all of them to completion. Pretty much.
But yeah, the art style looks great. There's been some other games released like that. Is this Square Enix? I can't remember.
I don't believe it's the exact same Square Enix team that's working on this one, but I know they're a part of it.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, I know that like they had something to do with it, but not that it's like, their main team or anything. But like, yeah, because Square Enix has released other of like the mini RPGs that they make in a similar style at some point, and I think it's really interesting to remake these older RPGs in this style that kind of blends modern 3D with the old sprite work. It's very fun.
Plus, I think their actual group is, and this is just a guess. I think that the Square Enix group that makes the majority of the Dragon Quest games, I think they're working on Dragon Quest 12 right now. So that's probably where I believe they're going.
Makes sense. Yeah, rest in peace, Akira Toriyama, who did a lot of character design work for a decent amount of these games. You look at these characters, you immediately see his art style.
I guess I had thought of asking that question before, like who would be making the artwork now, but I guess that's too soon to tell.
Yeah, there's a whole team of people. He was never really doing it by himself. It takes a lot of people to make games, so there's always been multiple concept artists. So I'm sure there have been people that have been working alongside him the entire time that'll take up the reins. But they announced Perfect Dark, the original, in synergy with Xbox. Nintendo is releasing the OG Perfect Dark from N64 Hell. For those who don't know, a reboot of Perfect Dark for Xbox was announced years ago, and we finally saw a gameplay trailer at Xbox's showcase earlier this month, and it looks incredible. It looks like a mix of Mirror's Edge and Deus Ex. I love Mirror's Edge. Never played Deus Ex, but Deus Ex is an immersive sim, and I love immersive sims. Dishonored, also immersive sim. So I'm really excited for this game. It looks so good. I did not care about this game. Everybody thought this game was dead in the water. They thought it was never happening. There were a bunch of rumors about it. Turns out all the rumors, or most of the rumors, were wrong. It's happening, and it looks incredible. Can't wait to see more. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection.
Yup.
It comes with 7 games. X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and The Punisher Beat 'em Up. So just like Persona fans were finally able to play Persona after it released on Nintendo and Xbox, Marvel vs. Capcom fans will finally be able to play Marvel vs. Capcom. It's me. I'm Marvel vs. Capcom fans. I believe I played the third one years and years ago, but I've mostly admired the series. Admired the series from afar. With this beautiful artwork from the outside looking in, and a lot of the earlier games just weren't available in the consoles that I owned. And I love Marvel comics, and I love several Capcom franchises like Street Fighter, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil. So it's always been a match made in heaven for me. I just have been able to play them. The last Marvel vs. Capcom game, Infinite, did not do very well. Because they went for a super bland art direction that spit in the face of the beauty that is Bengus's artwork from the earlier games. Bengus being the artist behind a lot of the concept art for those games and a lot of the art that you can find in the menus and stuff. Because Disney, in an attempt to drive down the value of X-Men and Fantastic Four so that they could buy them, From Fox refused to do anything with those characters. There were no X-Men characters in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So a franchise that was pivotal. That's not a word. Pivotal. I can't speak. Why is this happening? A franchise that was pivotal to the success of Marvel vs. Capcom, the X-Men, were completely missing from the last game. The Versus franchise began with X-Men versus Street Fighter. And Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2 had mostly X-Men characters on the Marvel side. But as shown with X-Men 97 and Deadpool vs. Wolverine, now that Disney and Marvel have the X-Men film and TV rights back, they're going all in. So this could potentially mean a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 coming at some point, which would be super exciting. Personally, I think they should make an X-Men vs. Street Fighter 2 first, to make up for the lack of X-Men in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and to take advantage of the renewed popularity in both X-Men and Street Fighter. But, I wouldn't be mad at Marvel vs. Capcom 4. But yeah, what do you guys think about Capcom Fighting Collection?
I am super excited. Trust, it will be bought launch day.
Oh, for sure. I'm getting that physically. Oh boy, it's gonna be great.
If I still bought games physically, I would get it physically. But the only reason I don't is because I end up losing the cartridges very easily for Switch. It's tragic. It's tragic. But yeah, it's getting bought launch day. I'm excited. I haven't played a good fighting game in so long.
Yeah. It's just, the art style's so good. It's so good. It's incredible how great those games look. And I'd love to see what the modern version of that looks like that actually has good art, unlike the last one. So we saw Super Mario Party Jamboree. I have no dog in this race. Not a Mario Party fan. What do you guys think?
I have
like Mario Party.
I have a Chihuahua in this race. I didn't like the first Super Mario Party because it was so bland, and like Mario Party 8 is my favorite. It will always be my favorite. It's the best one. And like to see the series just gradually go downhill from that point of like less mini games, less boards, less characters to play as, less fun. It's like, yeah, for like an entry level Mario fan, or for like people where it's like, oh, I'm gonna chill out with the homies and play Mario Party. It's fine, but I don't have high hopes.
I'm just confused on why it's like 20-person Mario Party. Like that's gonna be a long wait for your turn.
Yeah, but that's like I think it's not even turn-based. I think it's like everybody playing at once and like racing. Like everybody literally rolling
Oh
at
my
once.
gosh, I wonder how that would work.
Yeah, that's a game mode. It's not like the way, like that's a very specific game mode, but it's interesting. It's like those games that have been coming out recently, like F-Zero, where it's like 100 people racing at once, or like 100 people playing Tekken. Not Tekken, Tetris all at once together.
Oh,
It kind of makes more sense.
The last time I played Mario Party was, unfortunately, like some few years ago, and me and my friends got into a whole fight about it. Well, not fight. We were very loud, I honestly thought I wouldn't really want to touch the game again. But part of me is actually kind of interested in playing this game. The whole 20 player thing is definitely a concern because aside from waiting for your turn, there's also an issue of like how sturdy can the connection be before it eventually like breaks.
Yeah, from what I understand, Nintendo Online isn't so great to begin with.
Oh yeah, no. For $20, it really speaks for itself.
$20.
Yeah.
Granted,
If you get the
PlayStation Plus
expansion-
price just went up, but like at least PlayStation Plus works.
Yeah, and if you get the expansion pass, which is $50, it's worse somehow.
You know, at least
what?
PlayStation Plus and like Xbox comes with like Game Pass, but like
Right,
and it
like,
works, but like
like I don't know why I keep paying for Switch Online year after year. I don't play games on the N64.
wait, is it
The
20 a month?
GBA No, I think it's 20 a month, 50 a year for the Plus expansion pass. I think, if I am remembering correctly.
Crazy. Well, again, prices just went up with PlayStation, even though I don't use it like that. But like, it's still wild. I feel like you should not be able to charge people that much for something that does not work.
20 a year. That my brain is still in PlayStation 1.
That
Yeah,
makes so much more sense because I was like, yeah, you know what? No wonder it doesn't work. It's $20 a year. You're paying like 5 cents. You're paying dirt.
Yeah, that's $1.06 per month.
Oh yeah, if you're playing $1, imagine playing $1.06 for internet. Of course, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But
I just never like thinking of paying money just to play with friends.
yeah, it's wild that's a thing. I gotta pay for the game, and then I have to pay again to play it. Ridiculous.
And then your friends also have to pay for it.
Exactly. It's insane.
I had the same kind of argument with Dragon Ball: The Breakers because I paid $40. Well, you would have to pay $40 for the game. I did not have to, but you would still have to get a subscription
My
to
nigga
play online.
stole it.
And
No,
that
I'm
game
joking.
is strictly playable online.
Yeah, it's wild. We saw The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. The people of Hyrule are being stolen away by strange rifts that have appeared, and with a certain swordsman among those missing, it's up to Princess Zelda to save her kingdom. We're finally getting Zelda as the main character in a Legend of Zelda game, and it looks cool.
That's the DS.
It's in the Link's Awakening remake style, the kind of like toy box art style that had. And Zelda is much more magic focused, which makes a lot of sense to differentiate her from Link, but also she has the Triforce of wisdom, not courage. That makes a lot more sense. Even though I still would like classic Zelda, like action based Zelda game with Zelda as the main character. This still looks really cool.
I
Now
didn't expect the playstyle to be like that.
yeah, it's very interesting. You can stack up water blocks like it's Minecraft and swim up them. But yeah,
My immediate thought was like, I want to build a house.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll probably be able to build a house. That'd be cool. Watch it ends up turning into like there's gonna be like an expansion that turns into like Animal Crossing. But yeah, now we need a third person game where she's the protagonist. Give it to me and call it The Adventures of Zelda. Differentiated from Legend of Zelda, you call it The Adventures of Zelda, and she's the main character. But last but certainly not least, we saw Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
That looks pretty cool.
We finally get gameplay, and a 2025 release window. And yeah, this game was announced like 2,000 years ago, and we finally see something from it, and we know around when it's coming out. And it's coming out 2025. It's not well, it might come out on the Switch, but it's definitely being pushed back or like being saved for that next console whenever that gets announced. This is probably going to be like a release, like a day one release with that console game. But similar to Marvel vs. Capcom, I'm a Metroid enjoyer from afar. I've played Super Metroid on an emulator years ago, but otherwise I haven't played much. But I'm excited to finally get my hands on the franchise. whenever they release their next console, presumably next year. I'm assuming they might announce it this fall or winter, and then it releases like next spring or summer. Yeah, I've waited this long. I remember the day I decided I was gonna wait, and then it ended up being much longer than I ever expected it to be. Before they decided that they were gonna start wrapping things up, so I'm excited for them to finally do that, so I can finally play Breath of the Wild. That game came out 2017. It's almost been 10 years. But yeah, that's all I got. It's great having you guys. Episode 100, complete and total redesign. Of course, I'll still be getting Eric to draw stuff for me for the podcast, for especially the anniversaries. But the main artwork done by Bri. I'll put all you guys' ads below. As usual, I'm Dijon. You can no longer find my ad below me. You can find it beside me in the center of the screen. I'm gonna have to completely redo my outro because everything's different. I used to say you can find my ad below me, find Aiara's ad below them, and the Muska's ad below that, but that's not how it works anymore. But yeah, you'll just look at the screen. They're there, I promise. And yeah, Bri and well, do you want any of your ads down there, Bri? Okay, well,
they'll never find me.
Eric's ad will be down there, and Bri's ad will be added whenever she wants to make her art page public. And yeah, that's all I got. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.